great to be here. It's awesome to share our experience with you all. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We can jump right into it. Okay, so again, thank you all for having us. I'm Jen, this is Marco. We're going to have a discussion around biodesign in education. We'll share our experience in the Biodesign challenge that we did from 2020 to 2021. And we even have a couple students who were in the challenge as well. So hopefully in the Q&A, you'll be able to talk with them. So again, we'll just go through a quick introduction. We're going to go into what we call art thinking and speculative design in education. We'll explain what that means in a little bit. We'll also talk about biodesign and how we came about that and how we think it's very interesting for education. And then we're going to go into the Biodesign challenge, of course, and we'll go through the student projects that were submitted to the challenge. And again, we'll go through some Q&A so you can talk to the students.
Yeah, like Jen just said, we participated to the Biodesign challenge this year, and we're going to share our experience that we had there. We did this project in collaboration with First Stand and the Science Center. So maybe we could have a little introduction about First Stand. If you guys don't know already, maybe Adam, you can give it a little, and then we can go into like Aula and a little bit of the methodology that we used during the program, basically.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jen and Marco. I'll kick off with the introduction. I'm Adam Duran. I'm one of the program managers for First Hand. First Hand is a program of the Science Center and the Cultivate Pillar, which provides out-of-school time programming for middle and high school students, exposing them to STEM curriculum, STEM exposure, and also workplace experiences. So we like to use our campus, our lab on campus at 3675 Market, surrounded by biolabs, also CIC, and a whole community of innovation at 3675 Market Street to expose our students to STEM learning, mentorship, career exposure, and obviously with the pivot to virtual learning. So in collaboration with Aula Future, Marco and Jen, we were approached actually the year before, actually through Angela McQuillan, Dan Grushkin, who is the director of the Biodesign Challenge, wanted us to participate. He was looking for high school students to participate in the Biodesign Challenge. It's a heavily college student-based program and competition. So we were ecstatic to be able to actually participate this year with the help of Marco and Jen. And I believe
Adam?
this, yes.
Your headphones are breaking up. Is there a chance to connect without your headphones?
Is that better?
Talk a little bit more.
Can you hear, sorry, can you hear me better now?
It's actually still breaking up.
My computer mic, is that too low or is that good?
That's great.
That's better.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, give me 1 second. All right, Marco and Jim, why don't you pick up where I left off and I'll hop back if there's any other questions about First Hand while I get my audio.
Yeah, of course. We're so happy to have been introduced to Adam and everyone at First Hand. It really helped us to understand the program a little better. So yeah, Aula is, as we said, it's a program, and we use this unique approach to education and innovation that results in projects or concepts, prototypes, demos, and these projects are exhibited and shared with the community, which is a really important part of the program, because when the kids can share their project, it kind of serves as this localized point where the community can give feedback. We can understand how this project impacts the world socially, politically, and we can also investigate the possible futures that this project is pointing toward. So as a community, we can imagine the futures we want to move toward and also the futures that we want to avoid. And that's kind of how the projects being shared helps with that part. And the way that we do this is through certain thinking strategies, methodologies, and those are design thinking, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of already. We also incorporate speculative design practices inside of the program. That's kind of a newer term, but it's been around. It's also known as critical design. And then there's something called art thinking. And that we'll get into a little more, but we use these three methodologies as the main one for the students as they're going through the program.
Yeah, we think that education for some aspects needs this new change in methodology, because one of the reasons is that we live in this very like technology driven and like hyper connected world where all of the time, like every 2-3 years, there's new technologies coming up and new opportunities for students to always learn new stuff. So we really believe that to sort of thrive in this new era, you need to be sort of this individual that is like passion driven and like curious. And in a way, you should have a sort of self-directed and lifelong relationship to knowledge. And for this reason, like, because we think that the students or like the human of the future is supposed to have this sort of skills and skill sets, we have taken some of these methodologies and sort of applied them, try to apply them to our program. And that's the thing that we did at the Biodesign Challenge. So one is this art thinking, which I'm not sure that a lot of you people have sort of get in contact with this term, but basically it's a term that takes in consideration a methodology that is usually used by artists to come up with projects. What does that mean? Most of the time, we can recognize that artists, in the way that they do their projects, they sort of take a more holistic approach to project making, let's say. So, for example, if we have to see a new technology that is coming up or like investigate it, not only we would investigate the technologies by itself, but also the social and cultural and political implication to this technology and how it can relate to humans, you know. Another thing that we have done during this program was to take a very value first approach to design, which we mean that we start our program by with a self-inquiry stage where we sort of ask the students, what are your impacts that you want to have? What are your passions that you want to have? And what are the pain points that you see in your day-to-day life? And let those values drive the projects that you have, and therefore like innovative projects. And in our opinion, this is a little better than just finding a problem and trying to solve it. It's more personal and it's more passion driven for them. Another methodology that we use a lot is speculative design. Speculative design is sort of a branch of design that it's kind of in between art and design, where most of the time it works that you take technology or something or a trend that is happening in the present, try to project it in the future and see the implication that this trend might have on culture, technology, design, all these other stuff. And therefore, there's a big opportunity on an education level to sort of, by making a speculative design project, to sort of learn from all these different themes. So we usually call it world building. You tend to, through imagination and through abstraction, through critical thinking, you sort of tend to create a world and sort of investigate it, and trying to imagine products that might live in that sort of situation. And then the design thinking part, which a lot of you, I'm sure, are used to the term, which we usually take more in the end of the project, where we actually apply this value-driven first approach to design, and actually try to research and like iterate on the project and like solve all these little issues that might come up. So we really think that all these methodologies could be of help and be very useful for creating, let's say, the designer, the creative of the future, let's say.
Yeah, and just another point on these three methodologies that we're using, I think it's good to mention that, and within all three is a strong research point. Design thinking, speculative design, art thinking, there's a huge research component. And I think that's where a lot of the education part comes from when the students are going through this program. Because when you partner something that they're extremely passionate about with some outcome that they want to achieve, they're going to do a lot of research about that topic. And our kids did a lot of that research on things that aren't so easy. We'll get into the topics that they went into later on, but they're huge subjects that are not typically found in schools. So I think the research component is something important to mention here, and that's something we definitely value in the Aula Future program. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about biodesign. Thanks to the Science Center, we kind of happened upon this section of design back in 2019 when we were part of the artist residency program. And that's kind of where we found this mix of biology, of science, and art. So we really started getting into this term and found that there's a lot of value there. So biodesign, if you guys aren't familiar with it, is incorporating living organisms or ecosystems in the design itself. So it's not biomimicry. That's something that you might have heard around biomimicry. What biomimicry is kind of copying nature. The best example being the bullet trains in Japan. So those are actually modeled after a bird's beak. So the designer wanted to make the trains aerodynamic, therefore they borrowed a design from nature, and there you have biomimicry. The difference between biodesign and biomimicry is that biodesign actually incorporates the bacteria or living organisms inside of the design itself. So you can already start to imagine the potential of blending with nature in this way.
Yeah, and also like biodesign becomes this new paradigm approach towards design, where before in design you sort of tend to work with artificial materials and sort of trying to find solutions to your problem through designing through this artificial material. Here we are trying to work with nature to try to solve some of our problems. One of the reasons why we think is a really cool tool for education is that, I mean, first of all, this new way of thinking design, it's in a way feels very future proof, considering like all the environmental problems that we are probably going to face as a human family, or like all the climate change and environmental disruptions. So a good biodesign seems this very perfect tool to sort of educate the the professionals of the future. It's also a really good tool because, again, like we said before, with the art thinking and the speculative design and the design thinking, you can take this very holistic approach through to knowledge, let's say, to education, because like not only you can learn about biotechnology, biology through biodesign, but also you can see how new biotechnological trend can influence social behavior, like cultural behavior or political behavior. And these are all very interesting point for an education purpose. Like through the making of a project, you can really research all these big themes, let's say.
So yeah, and you have now this perfect storm, like Marco was saying, this holistic approach to coming up with a project, to learning with art thinking, speculative design, design thinking, and now the approach of biodesign. And that's kind of what we encountered when we entered the biodesign challenge, is kind of a summation of these four ways of thinking.
So yeah, basically thanks to the first stand and in collaboration with Robeson High School, we have come up with two groups of 6 students between 15 and 16 years old. And we try to apply it to the biodesign challenge and trying to come up with 2 innovative projects around biodesign. In a field that it was full of university students, like Adam was saying, but I think through the way that we have approached the program and this through this passion-driven approach, let's say, some of these topics that were very hard for the students sort of became a little bit more manageable. At least they were designing for something that they cared about. So we basically, again, like I said, we made a project-based and passion-driven project for this, and we came up with 2 projects. And yeah, by doing this, we tackle very hard topics like racism and like water scarcity, which we're going to actually show you in the next slide. Yeah, the first team called the Lovingly Blue Team is made up of Erin, Steven, Jamar, Luel, and Alyssa. Like I said before, they're a group of 15, 16-year-old, and they were really interested at the beginning about in the environmental degradation, and they really wanted to find or learn about possible solutions for the big problems that we're going to have in the future in this concerning the environment. And one of them was water scarcity, and in particular they took the experience of one of the team members, Luel, who's was born in Ethiopia, and they took inspiration from the Ethiopia water crisis to come up to a solution using biotechnology that would help people in rural communities use water. So in this case, this project imagines introducing cyanobacteria farming into rural communities to create a long-lasting and inexpensive ways to clean water that is contaminated by heavy metals and like dangerous pathogens. And yeah, we actually have a video that we have presented that will tell a little bit more about the project itself. So you'll hear from them instead from me.
Can you guys,
Would you like me to share?
yeah, if you guys unshare your screen, I'll let Emily share hers.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
The Somali region is a beautiful stretch of land in southeast of Ethiopia with a long history and vibrant culture. Unfortunately, a staggering 60% of the population, most of them farmers, don't have access to safe drinking water. Over the years, droughts in the region and poor water management have resulted in a loss of crops and in many avoidable deaths. Take the story of Kadir, for example. Kadir is a mother living in rural community of Hindessa with her husband and kids. Her children have to help gather water from a river 2 hours away through a dirty path. The river water is unsafe to drink because of heavy metals, algae, worms, and bacteria. And when it rains, the waste from surrounding farms washes into the water. They cannot guarantee that water will be safe, but they often have no choice. Even though great nonprofits like lifewater.org and water.org are helping people like Kadir, these solutions often don't create a long-lasting solution to fully remediate water that is contaminated by heavy metals and other bacteria. Very often, families like Kadir's must rely on additional physical or chemical ways to clean contaminated water sources that are expensive and prone to damages. Hi, my name is Lowell. I'm 15 years old, student in Philadelphia. I have lived in Ethiopia with my family for 5 years before moving to America in 2011. Fortunately for me and my relatives, I didn't have to go through the same hardships like Kadir had to go through every day. I had access to clean water and had the opportunity to live in a healthy childhood. But for others, access to clean water is scarce. In Ethiopia, around 33 million lack access to safe and clean water.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I am 15 years old.
Hi, my name is Aaron and I'm 16 years old.
Hi, I'm Steven and I'm 16 years old.
And I'm Jamar and I'm 15 years old. Together with Luel, we were inspired by the Biodesign Challenge to create a solution that could help people like Kadir and possibly save people around the world.
As a group, we wonder if we could empower communities in Ethiopia to create and manage their own system for clean water. We asked ourselves, what if we could create a long-term, inexpensive, and self-sufficient solution to improve water that is contaminated with bacteria and heavy metals?
The causes of water pollution are often a result of human activities and can include a wide range of chemicals and pathogens, as well as organic substances like bacteria. This also includes inorganic substances like heavy metals such as arsenic, cadmium, lead, mercury, and nickel.
Water pollution impacts people's lives in Ethiopia and the Somali region constantly. Preventable diseases are killing people at a staggering rate, but maybe biotechnology could create a safe, long-term solution for this great humanitarian problem. Around the world, people have learned to use bacteria to treat contaminated water. Biological wastewater treatment is the most common sanitation method in the world. This technology uses different types of bacteria and other microorganisms for the treatment and purification of polluted water. Bacteria are able to degrade the waste and use it as a source of energy to grow and multiply.
Some bacteria are more effective than other bacteria, though, and established water treatment facilities have not fully taken advantage of bacteria such as cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria are photosynthetic oxygen-producing bacteria. They are able to grow in large quantities and thrive just from sunlight, carbon dioxide, and minerals. This opens us up to sustainable water purification techniques in a rural community without needing expensive resources. Several strains of cyanobacteria are capable of producing what is called extracellular polymeric substances, or EPS. EPS-producing cyanobacteria have proven to remove heavy metals from polluted water by promoting coagulation. This means that the colonies of cyanobacteria that have absorbed dangerous heavy metals float, making it easier to remove from the water.
Cyanobacteria are easily farmed in inexpensive vessels called photobioreactors. Photobioreactors create the perfect environment for these bacteria to generate biomass from light and carbon dioxide for long stretches of time. Farming cyanobacteria could create a long-term and inexpensive solution to the water decontamination problem that have afflicted so many people in the world. For this reason, we began to imagine that we might one day be able to provide cyanobacteria to remote villages and teach local farmers how to farm them. We imagined that once they have the basic tools and knowledge, people like Kadir would have an inexpensive and long-term solution to unsafe drinking water that they could manage on their own.
In order to achieve this vision, we would need to select suitable strains of cyanobacteria, and there are a few criteria they have to meet. The bacteria should be fast-growing, able to grow over a wide range of heavy metals, produce EPS, and they should be able to be genetically modified.
After the bioabsorption of heavy metals has occurred, the contaminated cells must be separated from the water. Studies have found that different strains of cyanobacteria can create microbial EPSs that are used for coagulation of the colonies that are present in the water and make them float to the top. After the cells are safely separated, villagers will be able to drink the clean water that remains.
After extensive research, we have developed a solution based on 2 strains of genetically engineered cyanobacteria for farmers and rural villagers in Ethiopia. The starter colonies will be packaged and distributed to villagers to be farmed in ready-to-assemble photobioreactors. These structures are made of simple and inexpensive materials. Villagers will use the self-grown cyanobacterial colonies to create large amounts of drinking water for the community.
Clean Water of Our Future is a nonprofit organization that provides innovative solutions for the decontamination of water to villagers and farmers living in rural communities around the world. Our first product is a treatment consisting of a unique blend of genetically engineered cyanobacteria designed for the biopurification of contaminated water. This easy 2-step treatment has the power of absorbing heavy metals and dangerous pathogens from polluted water, making it potable and safe to drink. Our solution comes in small and hermetically sealed packages containing different strains of cyanobacteria serving different bioremediation functions. Our bacteria are dried, packaged, shipped, and become the starting bacterial culture for rural communities in need around the world. The cyanobacterial culture can then be farmed by anyone in our purposefully designed photobioreactors to create a long-lasting, inexpensive, and self-governing way to clean water contaminated by heavy metals and dangerous pathogens.
Once grown, the colonies can be introduced inside water container used already by the villagers like communal water tanks or jerry cans. First, we introduce the cyanobacterial colonies in charge of the absorption of heavy metals and purification of dangerous bacteria. Then, our second colony, thanks to its unique characteristics, will help flocculate the previously introduced strains and other dirt particles, making them float to the top of the container for easy disposal. Our cyanobacterial colonies are fast-growing, can thrive over a wide range of heavy metal concentrations, and genetically engineered to absorb heavy metals within their cell structure, purifying the water from dangerous pollutants. By providing educational programs and custom-designed photobioreactors for the farming of our cyanobacterial colonies, we are able to provide the perfect living conditions for our cultures as well as create new opportunities to farmers and villagers in rural communities that have little to no access to clean water. Living with Clean Water of Our Future means to empower people in rural areas and to self-govern their own water purification systems with very limited help from the outside. Farming bacteria is creating new opportunities, and foster collaboration. Choosing clean water of our future is having access to clean water, healthy bodies, and improved life standards.
Introducing bacterial farming practices in rural communities can become a long-term and inexpensive practice. This may not only decontaminate water sources, but with the right strains of cyanobacteria, could also be used for the production of food, energy, and biofertilizers. There's a lot left to learn about bacterial farming and its potential uses in society, but because of the minimal nutrition requirements of cyanobacteria, we can purpose it as an environmentally friendly practice.
Working on this project has been challenging as well as rewarding. In the beginning, it was hard deciding what to focus on, and we explored many concepts. Researching topics like this one has been a challenge, and being virtual reduced the amount of first-hand experience we could do. In the end, we chose to redirect our focus onto a personal issue faced by one of our teammates. Farming and genetically engineering cyanobacteria was a challenging topic for us to research, but we believed in ourselves and kept pushing.
Our hope for the future is very clear. We hope that with our project, we can inspire young minds. Students all over the world don't have to be afraid to use their knowledge to make change. We hope that one day our project could have a huge impact on Ethiopia and the Somalia region. This thought brings us joy. We hope that by listening to this story, people will be more grateful and appreciative of the water they have.
Whoa.
Yeah, the ending is a banger. But yeah, you can see how taking a passion project can be really powerful. Especially it can really drive you through the hard times of understanding what bacterial farming is, or what I don't know, genetic engineering is. And this is all done by them, actually. Like they drive the idea and we helped with research and sort of come up with this. So we have also another project which we would like to share.
Yeah, one sec, I'll share the screen again. Let's see if I can do it this time. Yeah, so that was Clean Water of Our Future. We're so proud of them. They worked so hard on it. They weren't able to make it today, but I hope that when we can meet in person again, that maybe we can have them do another presentation at some point, because they really did a lot of work. This is 6 months in the making. And we'll share more links to an article about them, as well as the video, if you guys want to share it or check it out again, because I know there's a lot of information packed inside of there.
Yeah.
So the second project that was the finalist team for the Biodesign Challenge is called ProHuman. So we have 2 students here in the audience. I don't know, Kiana and Nabria, are you around?
Yeah.
Hey guys. So Kiana and Nabria are 2 out of the 4 students who worked on ProHuman. And I'm gonna let Kiana introduce their project before we play the video for you.
Okay, our project name is ProHuman, a probiotic for social equality, a psychoactive prebiotic-probiotic mix designed to increase social interactions and form bonds between children of different backgrounds. ProHuman releases oxytocin, serotonin, and GABA to reduce social fear. The project serves as a critical investigation into the nature of prejudice, discrimination, and inequality.
Thank you, Kiana, for presenting. I know it's a little scary, but we appreciate you guys being here, and we want to celebrate you and all your hard work. So thank you. Yeah, we can play their video as well to give a little bit more context. So before we do, though, just a little precursor. Like Kiana said, the project is a prebiotic probiotic mix. it is a speculative idea, and they're kind of imagining a future if racism and social inequality were to continue. So this project is kind of their take on the issues at hand. When we first started this, at the end of 2020, there was a lot of protests going on. The Capitol was stormed. So there was a lot happening. And this was what kind of sparked the inspiration for the Red Team. So I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Jen, stop your screen share and I'll share the video. Cool, thank you.
Prejudice and racism are being actively taught to our youth, perpetuating the cycle of hate and social inequality. We have seen it with our own eyes. What if there were a way to stop this cycle? What if the next generation grew up to be better leaders and role models? We dream of a world where all people are seen as equal. We imagine being able to walk outside without fear of violence because of the way we look. Perhaps it is possible.
First, we must understand where prejudice and racism come from. Prejudice mindsets and behaviors develop over time for different reasons. We discovered that prejudice is mostly a result of fear, specifically a fear of outgroups, or people who are different from us.
The stress hormone cortisol floods the body, heart rate increases, and pupils dilate. Over time, the brain becomes conditioned to fear a certain stimulus, for example, people who are different from us.
Fear has many different sources. Sometimes it can be a result of getting older as your brain atrophies, but most often it is much more socially induced. From the age of 5, children usually have an increase in social interaction as they begin school in a new environment. They are faced with the reality that not everyone shares their thoughts, beliefs, or feelings, which can be a shock. Between the ages of 10 and 13 are when the child is able to use more logic to solve problems and think more abstractly. This is also a period when the child yearns to be part of a peer group. They are searching to identify who they are. This means that they will constantly face peer pressure and are vulnerable to insecurity and a lack of sense of belonging within social groups. The last part of the brain to mature is called the prefrontal cortex. This happens during adolescence. The prefrontal cortex is associated with the decision-making and impulsive control.
These phases of development are all crucial moments in terms of establishing healthy mindsets and behaviors. They are also full of fear-inducing situations. If left unchecked, fear becomes problematic. As children grow up, they are faced with new environments and social pressures equipped with a brain that is wired to react emotionally. Unguided, children latch onto the first groups that accept them instead of socializing with a diverse set of people. After years of feeling unsafe that their identity is threatened and like they do not belong, a person can become discriminatory toward other groups. In the years where many neural pathways are forming, children are in danger of strengthening biases which eventually lead to a harmful mentality about the world and the people in it. Healthy and diverse social bonding is crucial during these years. According to the contact hypothesis, when members of different groups interact in meaningful ways, trust and compassion form naturally, and prejudice is reduced.
Imagine a generation that didn't have to live in constant fear and grew up to respect the differences of others. These children would not fall into tight cliques as often and would expand their social circles to include more diverse people. Imagine a world where prejudice and racism are an ancient mentality and actively avoided.
Based on extensive research, we have designed a psychobiotic supplement we call ProHuman.
ProHuman is a psychobiotic, a probiotic with mental health benefits. Our treatment is a unique prebiotic and probiotic blend designed to increase social interaction and form social bonds between different types of children. ProHuman comes in a powdered form. Our kid-friendly mixes, which include pancakes, muffins, and brownies, are combined with healthy prebiotics to promote good bacteria growth in the gut. Our 5 to 9 mix decreases fear and anxiety for children just beginning school. Our 10 to 13 mix is perfect for forming social bonds, and our 14 plus mix delivers everything necessary for efficient frontal cortex development. ProHuman is meant to be ingested daily to ensure the biggest impact. It contains various strains of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, bacteria scientifically proven to positively impact behavior. Soon after delivery, these bacteria strains will begin synthesizing target neurotransmitters like oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA. The hormones synthesized in the gut will influence the brain in different ways, primarily via the vagus nerve and neuroendocrine systems. This is called the gut-brain axis. Neurotransmitters like GABA and serotonin regulate fear and anxiety, stabilizing mood and helping the child open up to new experiences. Oxytocin is connected to social-related behaviors and will increase empathy and bonding, while dopamine distributes a chemical reward, reinforcing desired behavior. And both the prebiotics and probiotics included in ProHuman influence several processes in relation to neurotransmission, neurogenesis, and behavior, all components of healthy frontal lobe maturation. Growing up with ProHuman, children are able to build lifelong bonds with many kinds of people. Brain development is all about forming connections, and thanks to something called synaptic pruning, the brain has a chance to form healthy neural pathways. As children reach adolescence, pathways that are used less often will die, while those which are reinforced both by social experiences and with the help of parents, such as befriending new people, will remain and elaborate. From now on, instead of running from ambiguity, the child will embrace it. Thanks to neuroplasticity, even if a child uses ProHuman later in development, the brain is able to be rewired to form healthy connections. The more children that use this supplement, the more likely it is that the world will one day be inhabited by people who are less prejudiced, bringing us one step closer to human equality. Just look at my Emily, for example. She has grown up to be an inclusive woman with a diverse group of friends, and she's succeeding in the world. I'm happy that she had the chance to grow up with a different attitude toward others than our parents taught us. If we hadn't used ProHuman, maybe those three would have never been friends.
For decades, we have waged a war on bacteria. Children are overprescribed antibiotics, a hypersanitized lifestyle is encouraged, and the Western diet is not as diverse and nutritious as it could be. All of these things decrease the number of good bacteria in our guts. We know now, though, that our gut microbiota is vital for healthy behaviors, and we are learning more and more every day. As research on the gut microbiome and its effects on the brain expands, more will become possible. We can only assume that more of the pathways which connect the gut to the brain will be found and that more healing will come from it. But there is still so much more work to be done. ProHuman would be an inexpensive and accessible solution to prejudice. However, the Western world has a culture of turning to quick fix supplements like this to solve issues. We have spent a lot of time discussing the implications of psychobiotics like ours and realized that there are things to take into account. How do we handle the issue of free will? And is it okay to give our kids a psychobiotic without their full consent? Does the existence of treatment for prejudice actually condone racist behaviors? Is it likely that people simply won't agree with or take the supplement? What happens then? And what about the side effects?
Whenever we deal with bacteria in the gut, we have to be careful not to introduce dysbiosis or an imbalance. If we are not careful, we might over or underproduce certain neurotransmitters, causing negative consequences. Although ProHuman is not meant to be a perfect solution, designing a psychobiotic and learning about the gut microbiome has opened our eyes to the possibilities of the gut-brain axis.
Hi, my name is Anique Parker.
Hi, my name is Nabria Jackson.
Hi, I'm Jaden.
Hi, my name is Kiana Nurse.
And we are from Port Robertson High School in Philadelphia.
We developed this project to explore prejudice and its cause because it's something that we have been impacted by as African Americans.
We experienced several challenges during the making of this project.
When we were researching for the Biodesign Challenge, we could not find many projects that challenged racism and/or inequality. Because of this, we did not have much to work off of, so we had to reference our own personal experiences.
We also explored many different types of biotechnology and found that not all were applicable. Building this project has been a journey. We have had important conversations around race, prejudice, ethics, and science with teachers, scientists, and parents around the world.
And now that we know that a treatment like this is possible, we have to ask, will we really let the world come to this? Do we really need yet another medication to solve our problems, or is there another way?
This project is a social critique of the current racial climate, and we challenge you to consider a different path. What are you doing to make the world more equal?
Thank you guys. Thank you for all the comments. And thank you, Red Team. Yeah, thank you. Kiana and Nabria, if you're still here. Also, of course, Jaden, Anik, who aren't here. You guys did awesome. So yeah, you can see what we mean by holistic. I mean, they did so much research. They went into, social implications. They went into biotechnology. They had to understand, where racism, prejudice stems from. All these things took a long time to research. So they really went deep into the project because they were passionate about it. So yeah, just quickly so we can get to Q&A. We had learning goals going into this biodesign challenge. Of course, we wanted the students to learn how to think critically about social issues like racism, anything that they're passionate about. We wanted to give them the tools to explore this in an impactful way that will actually make a difference, or that can potentially make a difference. And of course, give them tools to explore emerging technologies. We also wanted to help them to understand art thinking as a way to explore these things as well. And of course, we wanted, like Marco was saying, for them to have a value first approach to design. So kind of in contrast to regular design thinking, where you're kind of just putting out fires and you're designing solutions out the wazoo, this is a way to kind of generate the problem and then explore potential ways to solve it instead of just solving what's already out there. And of course, we wanted the teams to learn how to operate within a broader context. So of course, we weren't just designing in a vacuum. We have to give a shout out to the Science Center and all of the experts and scientists that were at our disposal for this. We couldn't have done it without their help. And the students did a great job of doing their presentations and asking the scientists questions. So we wanted them to kind of, break the awkwardness and get out of their shells and communicate and connect with people in the community.
So yeah, and also about the results, as you guys have seen, came up with two unique projects that had very impactful educational purposes. We did a lot of panel discussion like this one, not only at the Biodesign Challenge, but also here. And this is definitely a good way to, teach those skills also of public speaking, and also like making content like blogs and videos. You have to learn to tell your story if you want to explain your project well and be understood by the broader society, because at the end of the day, you want to make an impact. So you want to, you need to tell the story well. So again, it was a great opportunity, and I was so happy to have met these amazing students, and it was really amazing to come together and do something nice that can live on, at least as a speculative project, but maybe even as the potential to be actually implemented if the students want.
So yeah, thank you everyone again. This is just the beginning for us. We've learned so much in this experience, and I think there's big implications for our thinking and biodesign inside of education. So we hope that you guys enjoyed, and we can open the floor to questions. The students are here as well if you want to ask them something.
Thank you so much, Jennifer and Marco, for that awesome presentation. Since we're coming up on 4 o'clock, I think we only have time for like about one question. So whoever asks first.
Well, I feel like, unique that we have the students here, that if it's okay, I'd like to ask the students a question, just kind of generally speaking about your experience doing this remotely. And I can only imagine how difficult that would be, but it also seemed like there were some benefits when you made reference to, parents around the world. So like, could you speak a little bit about the, the struggles of that, but also the benefits you felt of, being able to have a global reach with your project?
I feel like doing it online, I don't think it was difficult at all. I really thought it was like more helpful because it was easier to like get in contact with people instead of like doing it really in person. Cause I don't know, virtual, it's way easier to communicate with people. Like for our skills that we did for basically about like racism, kind of, we did a skill, and it was kind of easy to figure out like who really likes who, kind of, if that makes sense. But I felt like it was kind of easy because we were already used to using online, so it wasn't challenging for us.
You guys are just pros. I respect it. Awesome.
We have one more quick question in the chat from George. It says, what about mutation of the cyanobacteria strains? Can farmers maintain a culture?
Yeah, I guess I could answer to this for Blue Team. The team has actually, it wasn't really told in the video because we had a limit of 10 minutes. But we explored, part of the project is actually exploring the implication of your project. And we definitely thought of the problem, especially with these long-term solutions of farming bacteria, that they could eventually mutate and just come up with a different strain, basically, of different characteristics. And the team has thought about it. We didn't see a solution for it. We didn't look for a solution. But in the moment that we sort of keep the conversation going, or like keep working on the project, these questions can be there to be explored. We thought about introducing potentially new strains in it, or solving it through genetic engineering, but very, very nothing that we have deeply looked into, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. Thank you to all of the students involved. Everyone, want to give a round of applause to Jen and Marco and Adam.